Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you guys today about a new show on Stars called P-Valley. I had heard nothing about this show. Somehow I didn't see any advertisements for it or anything, but all of a sudden last night when it premiered, I was on Twitter and I kept seeing it trending and I was like, what is everybody talking about? And then I saw somebody say, oh shit, they're playing Play a Fly. That's my back signal. For those who don't know, Play a Fly is like a deep cut Southern rapper. I guess you would call him trap music, but I mean, like, Play a Fly is so like underground, so high school for me, and I was just like, I don't know what this show is about, but I need to know. So one of my good sis friends sent me a DM where the showrunner and writer, her name is, I want to make sure I get it right, y'all know I be having my notes, Katori Hall, where she was talking about how she came up with the idea for the show. And I was so moved by her passion and her explanation. Basically, the show is about scruples, not strippers, not exotic dancers, not sex workers, scruples. So she's a Black woman from Tennessee. Black women from the South hold such a special place in my heart. In case you guys don't know or can't hear, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta proper. No shade to the people who live outside the perimeter, but I'm from actual Atlanta, like went to an Atlanta high school. What she said that really struck a chord with me is something that I've always known but didn't quite know how to articulate. And she said that strip clubs in the South are a part of your coming of age. They're not taboo for us. And when I thought about it, of course, I've always known, being from Atlanta, strip clubs are a huge part of our culture. You go after the club, you go before the club, you go just when you feel like getting something good to eat and want to see naked women. I don't know, it's just a part of our culture. Everybody knows, at least tangentially, a stripper. Like, it's just not a thing. For us in the South, when you turn 21, one of the first places that you go is a strip club. And in Atlanta, I don't know if it's like this everywhere in the South, but in Atlanta, our strippers get fully nude. And I think for me personally, I have always found sex workers, period, really interesting, because I've always kind of felt that there is no one type of woman who becomes a sex worker. Not every dancer came from a broken home and trauma. Some people, that's just really what their choice is, and their choice of profession is. And even when my body was at its best, I have never been as comfortable with my body as strippers are. I've always really admired how comfortable and confident and assertive they are with men. That's not something I've ever known anything about. They have this level of just boss to them that I've always really kind of admired. And for the longest time in my early 20s, when my friends and I would go to the strip club, the strippers would fill me up, and I was like, this seems backwards. And it's been really interesting for me being older. I'm 32 and going to strip clubs now, having more life experience. I do feel differently in a way where you go to the strip club, you always go with guys who have money. As a woman, unless you got cash, like unless you Beyonce, you got bank, you don't spend your own money in the strip club. You go with dudes and you spend their money. So I typically will go with one of my brothers or a group of us or whatever. And this past September, my brother was getting me a dance and he just gave me this like stack of money. And I was just like, is this exploitive? Like, is there another way I can just give this to her? And she don't care. She's shaking her ass to pay her bills. This is her job. Like, I don't think anything of the fact that I answer the phone is in emails for my day job. So maybe she doesn't think anything of it. This is what she does. So to circle all the way back, this show P-Valley was initially supposed to be called Pussy Valley. It was a play that the showrunner and writer who I mentioned initially wrote, and she decided that she wanted to explore the lives, the backgrounds, the nuance of the experience of being a stripper in the South. So this show takes place in a strip club called Pink. Not Pink, it's Pink with a Y, but Uncle Clifford says Pink, so I'm saying Pink. And she spent 6 years talking to different dancers all over the South to really get an understanding of what their lives were like, how they got here, the things that they experienced, so that she could honor these Black women. Something that I really, really don't like is that we tend to only honor a certain kind of Black woman. She has to be, you know, pious and quiet and soft-spoken and, you know, whatever. These women's stories are worthy of being told as well, and they're worthy of being told from a perspective that is not exploitive, that is not reductive. And you can tell that this show is written by a Black woman, because so much of what's done, it doesn't look like it's so much for the male gaze. The Katori, am I saying it? Katori made a point to highlight the athleticism of these women. And I mean, it's not easy money, especially at a club like Magic City or Onyx or something like that. Like the tricks and stuff that those girls do, like the upper body strength that you have to have, the coordination that you have to have, it's not an easy job. And I'm really excited to see where these stories go, because like I said, I have always been curious about how sex workers arrive at sex work. Not to say that I want to do it. No shade to anybody. Again, on this channel, we support all women. We support sex workers. They should be allowed to make money safely like anybody else. Oldest profession out here. So I really am excited to see where she takes these stories. The show opens up with a really kind of cryptic scene. Again, this club is in the Mississippi Delta, so it's in the South. And this woman who we discover her name is Autumn Night, poetic, okay. She's pulling a suitcase out of a swamp. I didn't know what was going on, and then when she was looking through the stuff, I was like, is this her stuff? Is she stealing somebody's identity? This is supposed to be mysterious, obviously. She gets on this bus, she gets off of this bus and just walks into the woods, and I was like, girl, what is you doing? And arrives at the strip club. She ends up auditioning, or no, she competes in a booty contest, wins, and then decides that she wants to work at the strip club. We're also introduced to Mercedes, Mercedes so fine. Let me just say, I appreciate that there are real booties, and that's no shade to anyone who has a surgically enhanced booty. I just appreciate the variety. I appreciate that these are Black women who are beautiful in the way that I have always seen Black women be beautiful. It wasn't this very manufactured, very made up, you know, super contoured, whatever. They were just pretty Black girls. That's like the girls that I grew up with. And Mercedes reminds me so much of that. Like, she is so just like a regular girl fine. I think Mississippi is beautiful as well. And I'm also happy that there are brown girls. Autumn is very light skinned. I thought Autumn was Drea at first. I was like, wait. So she decides that she's going to, you know, work at this club. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I love the music. I love the cinematography. The acting is not super strong yet. The production is not super strong yet. But I am hopeful that it will develop over the course of the series, and I'm also really hopeful that Starz gives them a second season as well, because I really want to see their growth and I really want to see where this goes. So Mercedes is like the HBIC, she's like the head stripper in charge. She's been working the longest, and she has a mom who is aggressively devoted to the church. The hypocrisy of this girl's mama made me want to throw my phone at my television and then throw both my phone and my television out my window. I have such a problem with churches who persecute people who are gay, who are just otherwise not Christian enough, which if you're judging people, you're not a Christian either, but whatever. A pastor will sit in a pulpit and tell you how you aren't good enough, but then will accept money from your lifestyle that makes you not good enough as a means for you to get right with God. So you're telling me that God does not approve of who I am, but if I pay you this money in tithing, then it will put me in better standing with God. That makes my soul burn. For you to tell your congregation, this very specific sect of the congregation, that they're not good enough, but you'll take their money. I want to punch Mercedes' mama in the face. I also really loved that Mercedes is the cheerleading coach, because if you are a black girl from the South, you grew up with like a few cheerleading or dance coaches who were just like, why are you so hard on us, honey? We're children. Dial it down a bit. But seeing those little girls on that track, it took me right back to middle school. Our cheers were so ghetto. Our stunts were trash. They weren't really stunts because we were like a black underfunded school. Chad, we ain't know nothing about that. The internet wasn't what it was now. We was just out here doing our best. And we had really great jumps. And we had one bad bitch who could flip. She's the first bad bitch I ever met in real life. I think of her often. I hope she's doing well. And I was just like, oh my God, this story is like, I saw myself so much in these like small pockets of this show. And I kept feeling like, I hope it's not going to be derivative of Players Club, especially when you see that this rapper, Lil Murda, we'll get to him in a second, preferred to have Autumn Night because she was light-skinned and looked younger. And I was like, there's about to be some Diamond and Roni, so I don't want to go down this road. But, you know, they took it in another direction. I do want to say, before I forget, I'm so worried about Mercedes, about her character. With everything that's going on in the real world right now, she looks so much like the vulnerable women who we're seeing struggling right now, where I think a lot of us don't understand that when someone is in a domestically abusive relationship and everyone is like, why don't you just leave? Everyone does not have the resources or the wherewithal to leave. And I'm really terrified for where her story is going, because if you look at the previews for the rest of the season, it does look like they go to a funeral, and I hope that it's not hers. I hope that they find a way to save her from herself. Such a beautiful girl, super talented. Like, I was like, Jesus, like talk athleticism, like she was super dope. We have to talk about Lil Murda. First of all, I love how new rappers, and especially like in the South, like dudes love to flex, and the whole thing about the brick weighing down the Louis Vuitton bag, and then the fine ass bouncer wouldn't let them in. Okay, so Lil Murda reminded me so much of, back in Atlanta, I used to go to drag shows. I forget what this venue was called. It's not there anymore. I'm really sad because this is one of my favorite things to do on a Monday night. But after the drag show, they would clear all the chairs and it would be a dance floor like a regular club, right? And this was like my early to mid 20s. And I remember just looking around, like, it was my first realization that gay men don't look one way. Like, I would be looking at dudes like, I would have no idea that this man liked men. I would have just assumed that he went to my same church. And this is why I say it's important for you to do things outside of your own community, outside of your own experience. So Lil Murda gave me trade vibes. Like, I knew it. So when he went in that beautiful blue room, like, what was that about? The blue room? What? With Uncle Clifford, I was like, oh, I get it. So he's bi, so he's fluid. And the thing is, I wish more men were comfortable being bi or being fluid publicly, because it's like, it's dudes who you just would not expect. because of how they look. Gay has no one look. And I was just like, that tracks. So I'm really curious to see where Autumn's story is going. She's very clearly running from something or someone based on her flashbacks, and then the whole thing with like the picture of the kid on the phone that she broke. And I hope that they build that story out really well. I'm curious to see if Mercedes is actually going to retire, since that was supposed to be like her last night. And I do want to say too, something that I thought was really, really cool. I don't know if it was a directing decision or what, but when she was doing those stunts on her last night, like Mercedes Sundays, and they cut all the sound, and it was just, we could hear her inner dialogue, which was just like her breathing and just getting through to do, and it added this level of like suspense that I was like, oh my God, is she about to fall or something? Like, I was like on the edge of my seat. But I thought that was such a cool creative choice that they made. And you can just really see that this showrunner put work into not only the music. Y'all, the music in this show is so good. I love Southern trap music, in addition to 90s R&B, but I love Southern trap music, especially when something comes on and you can't help but to do a little twerk to yourself. I love it so much. You can really tell that she put work into learning these women's stories and honoring their stories. And I love to see shows about people's chosen families. Pose is a show like that, where people for whatever reason have found themselves in another collective group, whether they were like abandoned or rejected by their family, or this is just where they found themselves. I love learning about a chosen family. So I'm very excited to see where the show goes. I'm very excited to delve more into the lives of these characters. I have high hopes for it, so I'm gonna start reviewing the show every week, so you guys make sure you come back. And shouts out to Starz and HBO for doing such a great job of helping tell Black stories. Apparently this is only going to be 8 episodes, but at least it's a full hour each episode. I believe it's a full hour. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this showrunner gives us, what the characters give us. Yeah, I'm excited for the music. I'm excited for the twerking. I'm excited for the beautiful Black women, and for sex workers to have a story told with more nuance and more respect and more kindness. I think that when we reject these huge parts of ourselves or these huge parts of our communities, we end up creating vulnerabilities. And something that I think we're coming to see now, given the pandemic, is how harmful it is to ignore vulnerable communities. So I think that it's actually really important that this is coming out right now, where people have to focus on someone other than themselves, on a group of people who live differently than them. So again, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.